And the reason why people have anxiety and depression and everything else like that is because they believe that they don't have another choice. And that belief is about you. Who believes it? You believe it. But why do you believe it? Where does that belief system come from?
Hi, and welcome to Indian Explorers. In this podcast, we talk about Indian success stories. I am Sabrina, and together with my co-host Amit, we will get to understand the journey of our guests and what drives them. Their optimism, patience, idealism, and courage, these are their attributes that we want to bring to life in these conversations with them. If you enjoy the show, please hit the subscribe button and share it with others. So I have a question for you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Have you ever been hypnotized?
I don't even know what that is, Sabrina.
No, you've never seen like in the magic shows, like they hypnotize someone, take them back into time.
That's
like
all fake. That's not.
So what I loved about today's guest, right? She is a mental health expert and she uses hypnotism. I think she's totally changed the way I think about this to help people with their challenges, whether it's like sleeping issues or anxiety or depression or, anything like that. She's like an expert in Hong Kong and has patients all over the world that she helps out with hypnotism and other mental health therapy. So I was just fascinated by today's episode.
I also got my free session in. So
she really did.
She finally answered the question that I wanted to know, is at what age should I get my son a smartphone? And she didn't want to answer it at first, but I really pushed it. And I finally got the answer I wanted.
I think
I'm satisfied with her answer. So, we finally get an age.
And she taught you about conscious parenting.
Which I'm not.
Let's get to it. I really enjoyed this episode.
Me too. Let's bring her on.
So I'm excited to welcome Sonia Samtani. She is a clinical hypnotherapist, NLP trainer, qualified life coach, best-selling author of 52 Thoughts for Conscious Living, and the founder of Hong Kong's leading mental wellness facility, the All About You Center. She is undoubtedly Hong Kong's most qualified and progressive mental wellness professional and one of the most sought after facilitators and keynote speakers in the region. Not only has she been featured in Vogue, Tatler, Cosmopolitan, Marie Claire, and other popular publications, but she has received an abundance of accolades for her work, one being Wellness Entrepreneur of the Year from Hong Kong's Wellness Magazine. Wow, Sonia, I'm excited to talk to you. How are you?
I'm great, and thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. We're ready with questions for you.
Good evening, Sonia. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's 9:30 p.m., so it's my time since I'm a night owl.
I'm the opposite. I'm 8:30 a.m. and I'm a morning person. So it worked out perfectly for us.
I'm 1 hour ahead, 9:30 in the morning, so it's good for me as well. Did we miss anything out, Sonia? I mean, Sabrina just kept going and going and going. Did we miss anything out in the introduction?
To be honest with you, these qualifications are all great, but I think that the real deal will come when we speak and we get to know each other as a person. So no, you didn't miss anything out, and the real thing will come person to person.
Well, to be honest, I felt like I missed a lot out. There was so much about you, so many awards, so many certifications, but like you said, we'll get into it.
I want to start with the most inappropriate question a man can ask a woman. Because it's the only way to start, because she's done so much, yet she looks 20. So I want to know, how old are you?
I am turning 42 on the 9th of June, which is like in 11 days.
Next week, yes. Happy early birthday.
Thanks.
Sabrina, she doesn't look 42. She looks 24.
You look much younger.
Okay.
Much younger and so accomplished. So congratulations.
Thank you.
No, but is it the water in Hong Kong or is it the creams that she puts on her? I mean, she looks amazing.
Thank you, Amit. This is such a nice platform to start on.
We're your favorite podcast already.
Yeah.
Okay, Sabrina, go for it. Sabrina, you start.
Well, I really want to get into hypnotherapy, but let's find out a little bit about your background, where born and raised, but also how you got into this profession.
So, born and raised in Hong Kong. I'm a Hong Konger.
Okay.
I have been here my entire life. How I got into this profession is a mixture of accident, synchronicity, the way that life was meant to be, resilience, and so much more. So, I was in a place in my life in the past where I did, I had a lot of limiting beliefs. I didn't feel good enough for many reasons. I felt like it was better for me to be invisible in the background. Other people are more important than me. Part of it was familial circumstances. Part of it was racism and many other things. So I'd accumulated a lot of limiting beliefs and I carried that with me. And then I soon enough began to realize that I was a lot less confident than the people around me. And then the curious part of me was wondering why. And then I started to think, oh, okay, maybe it's because of the way that I looked. And so I started to change my appearance. And it made a little bit of a difference, but not a huge difference. And then maybe
Were
it
you
was
a teenager around this time or young
16,
adult?
17 around.
Okay.
And then it was
Okay.
going into university and then changing more things about myself and saying, oh, will that help? Until I began to realize that the real deal was limiting beliefs. It was not the way that I looked. It was not that I was not a good enough person and I was not doing enough charity. And then I started to expose myself to many things. I joined many courses. I then joined Tony Robbins's workshops and I worked for Tony Robbins, which was a beautiful experience. And then I started discovering the things within myself that were not working for me, which was, as I said, my belief systems. And then I came across hypnotherapy, which was the most powerful tool for me to actually look and shift my limiting beliefs. So it didn't just give me an insight like, oh, yeah, I thought that it was better to be invisible. I thought that it was other people are better than me. And let me cope with it better. No, it was not about realizing and coping with it. It was understanding where it came from, understanding that that's not the truth. That was my perception, shifting my perception, gaining a different truth, and then operating with a different belief system. And that was how hypnotherapy came into my life. It changed who I was. And then I began to bring this to the world. And then I became one of the first people in Hong Kong that pioneered hypnotherapy here.
So what I know about hypnotherapy, which is very little, is I've seen it done in magic shows, right? And I always wonder, is it real? Are those people really hypnotized? Or I've read the book, I think I read it a long time ago, but I recently reread it, was Many Lives, Many Masters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so going back into past lives. So can you brief us, what is hypnotherapy? Because I think most people are misunderstood when it comes to it.
There are so many misconceptions, right? And
Yes.
one of the biggest misconceptions that it's mind control. It controls who you are and what you do. And hypnotherapy is nothing like that. It's about accessing a different brainwave. And it's the most natural state of consciousness that you are in. And every person is in it every day. And just before you sleep and just before you wake up, you're naturally in a theta brainwave. And that's a state where you're awake, but you're not in control of every muscle in your body. It takes time to lift your fingers. It takes time to kind of, move your body. That's why we don't jump out of bed first thing in the morning, because it's a different brainwave where our conscious mind is not in full control. And the closest thing to it is meditation. So hypnosis and hypnotherapy used in a therapeutic format is not stage hypnosis. It's not mind control. It's not when somebody is controlling you beyond what you give yourself permission to. It's what you allow someone to take you through. And you are in a process which is very similar to meditation. And in that, you are in a theta brainwave and your defenses are lower. So when your defenses are higher, your rational mind is in charge. And if someone says to you, you're confident, and you think you're not such a confident public speaker, and they say, yes, you're confident, you would say, no, I'm not. Why should I think I am? Because you tell me I am. Why? My rational mind is in charge. My defense mechanisms are in charge. But when I'm very, very relaxed, and that happens when we're drunk, when we're in drugs, when we're very sleepy, when we're overwhelmed, all of these things puts us in a different brainwave. And hypnosis does the same thing. Your defense mechanisms are lowered down and you allow things to come in and you allow yourself to access something that is beyond your defense mechanisms and all of those belief systems. And in that space, you are more susceptible to suggestions made, and you can even go into places that you have suppressed because of trauma. So, why do I even believe I'm not confident enough? Something happened in my life. Do I want to even face it? No, I don't. But in that brainwave, it's okay to face, it's okay to go, it's okay to discover. So, what hypnotherapy does is it lowers your defenses, it puts you in a theta brainwave, it helps you to access those belief systems and experiences that your defense mechanisms are blocking so that you can resolve those belief systems and then you can work according to what your rational mind wants but can't achieve itself. Like, I want to be a confident public speaker, but I don't believe I can. I want to be comfortable on a plane, but I don't believe I can. There's a discrepancy between what I want and how I feel. So in hypnotherapy, you go beyond that defense mechanism and that you can access the belief system so you can align your conscious and subconscious mind. I hope I didn't make it too
I,
complicated.
That's
I think
fascinating.
I've just been hypnotized. Um, I want to go back. I want to go back to what you said earlier. Uh, I cannot relate. For me, growing up till today, I am the most important person in my world. Like, I've never, every time I felt anxiety or I've been down or depressed, I've made a choice. And in half an hour or an hour later, I've said no. Look at what's happening in Gaza and, people with cancer. So I feel like a lot of the things that you help cure are decisions that people have made. And I want to know how much control does an individual have? Because my wife, my friends, a lot of people tell me I have no empathy, no compassion, no understanding. And that's fine. I mean, I am who I am. And it's difficult for me to understand why someone is unhappy when they've got everything they've got. So walk me through that.
And
Like,
by the way, he and I are total opposites. And we I don't know if you remember, but you and I had a short conversation about this when you
we
came to
did.
visit. Yeah. And we started talking about depression specifically. And I was like starting to get heated. I'm like, we'll talk about this later.
And I said it's a choice. And that, you should get up
Yeah.
in the morning and I choose to be happy today. And when I sleep, I thank God for everything, that's happened in the day and how lucky we are. I look at the picture. I have now a digital photo frame at home, and I've put it in a dark room, and it's bright. And every day I pass by when I'm putting the kids to sleep, I see my three sons, and I'm like, and I'm a little bit sad. And I look at that picture, and I'm like, how dare I? How dare I be sad with what God's given me? So that's how I feel. But yeah, back to Sabrina's question.
Take me through your question again. What is it that you want me to explain?
What I want to understand is, like, when I read like your website and I saw the things that you've helped cure. You've helped people with sleep disorders, anxiety. You've helped people with depression. For me, those are not diseases. For me, those are choices that people have made, and it's a brain thing. So I want to know how much of it is actually their own internal thing that needs to be turned, and how much of it is actually self pity.
I
Like,
believe,
I'm trying to understand your world
yeah,
because I'm not part of your world.
everything is a personal choice at the end of the day. And the reason why people have anxiety and depression and everything else like that is because they believe that they don't have another choice. And that belief is about you. Who believes it? You believe it. But why do you believe it? Where does that belief system come from? Many times the belief system comes from a younger part of you who has made a conclusion. Now, let's say if somebody has faced a trauma and the trauma is abuse. And in that abuse, you have actually felt helpless. And in that helplessness, you've made a conclusion that other people are more powerful than me and I don't have control and I'm small. That conclusion is a truth. And that truth is located in the subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind is 6,000 times more powerful than any rational thought. So even though you know different, if you have concluded I'm powerless, that can be much more poignant, much more powerful than any rationalization that you have. If you have all the logic in the world of why being on a plane is safer than being on a road, and many people have done this research, but you have a belief system that I'm unsafe on a plane, that belief system is coming from the subconscious mind, which is your emotional self, again, which is 6,000 times more powerful than your rational self. So first of all, it's about understanding that these belief systems that people have are more powerful. Even if they don't make sense, they influence you. So even if it doesn't make sense that I'm scared of a plane and I rationally know better, yet my body is shaking. Even if I feel like, oh, what's a big deal in speaking in public, yet my body is shaking, then something is coming from your emotional self, which is more powerful than your rational self. And secondly, if we're talking about like telling myself, oh, how dare I feel angry? I would actually advise, if you have a feeling, allow the feeling. Because you saying, how dare I feel a feeling, is judging the feeling. Let's say if you're sad or if you're angry, allow yourself to be sad and angry, complete the feeling and be neutral. Because if you're judging the feeling, what happens to that emotion? It needs to go somewhere. So if I'm sad and someone says, don't be sad, what happens to my sadness? I'm already sad. It's too late to tell me don't be sad because I'm
Where does
sad.
it go?
Right? Where does it go?
Where does that?
It turns into anger
Yes.
or tears.
Yes. So I'm going to swallow it inside and I'm going to feel something else about it. So why not just accept I'm sad, allow myself to be sad fully, and then come back to neutral. So then we're moving away from judgment. And the crux of my work actually is about moving away from judgment, allowing yourself to understand and accept how you are, to value the parts that you have judged so that you can be neutral, and be in charge of your life.
Sonia, this is turning out to be a free session, so I appreciate that. in my 20s and 30s, my biggest problem was that the things that I realized that made me sad was whenever I compared myself to my peers, right? So I still go to the gym. And when I go to the gym, it's like, how is everybody in this gym fitter than me? Like, I'm going as many times as they're going, but they just look like, like built.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably eating better. But then in business, when I'm like, oh, I've worked as hard as this person has worked, but, they're 5 times as more successful financially. So in my 20s and 30s, I used to be sad because of that when I was sad, right? Now I've stopped comparing. And now it's like, I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with my own journey. I'm happy with this podcast. So I feel like, why didn't somebody teach me when I was 20 and 30 that comparing is just the biggest no that can be done?
Because
Is that something that you see that a lot?
I do, because so much of how we brought up with is to do with comparison, right? And comparison is encouraging hierarchy, because every time you compare, someone has to be better and someone has to be worse. Otherwise, there's no comparison. So comparison encourages hierarchy, and that hierarchy, unfortunately, we associate to self-worth. So if someone is better and someone is worth, then someone is more valuable than another. And if someone is more valuable than another, then my self-worth is impacted by my performance and my results. And that's not great for self-esteem. And so much of we've been conditioned is influenced by that.
So you would scrap exams? Because, examinations leads to this, right? Especially in Asia.
I'm not about scrapping, but I'm about disassociating self-worth to results. Because I believe results are necessary. So let's say if you do something and the result that you get is that, oh, the other person didn't understand me. That's a result. I didn't understand this formula. That's a result. I got, 30% is a result. What can you do? You can grow from that. Sure, grow from that. It's good feedback. But if that feedback is associated to self-worth, it diminishes you as a person. If that feedback is associated with growth and you understand that I'm valuable as a person, I'm good enough as a person, and there's room to grow, it's healthy.
Mhm.
Free session over, Sabrina. Your turn.
You mentioned one challenge you went through growing up was racism. So when you went through your hypnotherapy, did you go back to that time, like certain specific moments where you were treated unfairly or treated differently to overcome that?
Absolutely. I did, because
Okay.
it's all about that. It's in the moments of decisions that you make. Those are the moments that shape your life. So let's say if I experienced racism and somebody was looking at me and said, "Oh, we don't want her because she's dark." In that moment, what did I conclude? I actually concluded I wished that I was blonde with blue eyes, then I would feel included and I would feel good enough. That conclusion influenced me. So I needed to go back to that moment that I felt not good enough. The moment that I concluded that I needed to be different to be good enough in order for me to heal it. Because if I don't know that moment, then I'm not sure what the conclusion I made was. And if I don't know that conclusion, how do I know what's influencing me so much? So I've done many types of regressions, and I've gone back to those moments, and I've understood those moments from a different perspective with the wisdom of today. And the wisdom of today is a different framework than the child of yesterday. And that does not mean that the child of yesterday is invalid. I can't say, "Oh, well, that's rubbish. I think that racism is not valid. So how stupid of you to think that you need to be blonde." No, that child of me thought that. And that was valid for her because she didn't know any better. And her emotions are valid because she felt them. So who am I to invalidate them? And I would look at them and I would be kind to her and I would accept her, move her through it, and then introduce her to the wisdom.
Got it. That's
I
so cool.
I've just come up with the title for this episode: the Cynthia Tony Robbins.
You're great. Your
Tell,
delivery is great.
I mean, tell us about Tony, because I've obviously heard a bit of his podcast. I've not read any of his books, but the amount of people that I've heard that he has changed their life literally overnight by attending those 3-4 hour sessions that he does with thousands of people, and the energy that comes out in those sessions. You said you worked with him, for him. What was your relationship with Tony?
I don't have a relationship. I never did, although I did work for his company. So I was officially an employee. I was called a senior mentor. And for 2 years, I worked as a part of his international team. So I coached the people that attended his workshops. So each workshop was a minimum of 3 days and around 10,000 people, which was amazing. And he generated enough energy to captivate that many people. And we would speak to those people after they completed the seminar to check that those messages were still in their lives. They were still incorporating that. The momentum was there.
The guy must be a billionaire.
Of course he is. He's larger than
He
life.
is a
He's one of the
he's a
best
billionaire.
speakers in the world. I think he's the best speaker. He's got a beautiful presence. I never had a personal relationship with him, although I was on stage with him many times, and he was like, "Oh, this is part of my team," and I was part of that team, and that was lovely. Although, of course, we don't get a personal relationship with him because he's got so many people and such a big team to be with.
Mhm.
Were you nervous when you're on stage with him? Is it like if I meet Messi or Michael Jordan, I'd be shaking? Is it that type of feeling?
Actually, his seminars are like a rave. They're like a giant rave. So when you attend his seminars, right, when you go into the room, everybody is jumping up and down, like literally hands in the air and jumping. The music is pumping. So when you're in
Without
it,
the drugs?
no drugs.
No
Try
drugs and raving.
try it. Like it is a giant rave. And I was in my
What's the session cost? What's the session to attend Tony Robbins? What does it cost for those 3 days
I
thing?
only know back in the day. So back in the day, the one that I worked on was the preliminary course, and that was not very much. But I remember the price of what we call the mastery course, which was 10,000 US dollars, and I was responsible to sell that. And that was
Wow.
3 workshops, not including accommodation and flights. And one was 6 days, and the other two were the one was 6 days, one was 3 days, and the other one was 5 days. And it was in different parts of the world. So you could do
$10,000.
US dollars, and this is in 2005. So I was
That's
responsible to sell that.
wow. I have another question. So you coached after Tony Robbins, you've started on your own. You coached a championship race car driver, Dan Wells, for 12 months to win 12 out of 12 races, right? How did you coach him? What did he come to you for?
But
If you don't
before
mind,
that,
if you can tell me.
but before that, did he used to come second and third, or was he always a winner?
He was a winner, not as consistent, and he came initially for performance. But any type of behavior, and performance is a behavior, is governed by belief systems. So as we are working on your performance, we're working on your beliefs about it. So Dan was beautifully open, and he came in to enhance his performance, and he was very willing to work on his belief systems and work on what is limiting him from achieving that performance. And he was into manifestation, and we did sessions. I worked with him for a year back then, and he won every single race that he did in that year that I worked with him. And then actually I stopped working with him for quite some time. And this year I'm back with him again, many years later. And he's now an owner of a team, and I'm actually working with his other drivers. So that's been amazing. So it's actually working with every belief that you have that is limiting you from your potential, so that you can step into your potential and at the same time not be attached to the result. Because saying I have to win, I need to win, I should win is attachment. Because if you need to and you have to, then what are you without it? I'm either in crisis or I'm not good enough. Does that help? No, it doesn't. And does that encourage limiting beliefs? Of course it does. So it's about I choose to, I would love to, I'm inspired to, I'm good enough to, and bask in that presence, and then it becomes natural.
Can we go back to my free session? I have a 3.5-year-old who sleeps well, but then every night between 1 and 3 in the morning, he wakes up. Well, he doesn't wake up. He just shouts and screams as if he's got nightmares, and we shake him, but he still doesn't wake up or open his eyes. And sometimes it lasts a minute, sometimes it lasts 20 minutes. And only when I open his eyes and he sees me or my wife next to him does he calm down and go back to bed. But it's something that happens consistently every night. And so the doctor here, the regular doctor here, said just give him, melatonin. Right?
Melatonin. Mm-hmm.
But I thought that just helps to get you to sleep as opposed to, keep you asleep. And now someone's suggested Ayurvedic, medicine, which we haven't started. But why? And obviously, when he gets up in the morning, he's happy the whole day. He doesn't realize or doesn't remember that night he ruined my sleep, and I'm pissed off with him. He doesn't care, and he's just happy the whole day. He gets up and he says, "Cookie, please. Give me a cookie," as if he's Garfield or something. So what do I do? What do you suggest? Is it something that me or my wife are doing wrong? Or is it something that he's been bullied in school that I'm not aware of? Or what's happening?
Yeah, I would ask a few questions actually. Like, first, what time is it? How consistent is it? And how does
Daily,
he feel before he goes
1
to
to 3.
So, okay.
Daily 1 to 3. And what was the last question? How does he?
How consistent is it? And how does he feel before he goes to bed?
He sleeps with a smile.
Okay.
He sleeps with a smile. He wakes up with a smile.
How many times a week is this nightmare?
4.
Okay.
Minimum 4.
Okay. And 1 to 3 seems like the middle part of his sleep cycle. So what time does he wake up?
Between 6 and 6:15 in the morning. He's quite consistent on his own.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would do a little ritual before actually going to bed on reinforcing safety, reinforcing that he's loved, reinforcing things that you would love for him to feel. Know that if he doesn't remember this, then actually it's not something that you need to drill into him, and let's not make him believe that something is bad or wrong. Because if you make him believe that, then that's more detrimental. Yet you can bring it to his awareness. You can bring to his awareness that, oh, between 1 to 3, this is what happens. And what happens could be something that is an entanglement. It could be something that he is subconsciously thinking that he's not even aware of. It could be something that is in his space. We don't know whether he's bullied or not. But let's say if he is being, then that's subconsciously in his space. So we actually don't know what's happening. So you can
Yeah.
bring it to his awareness. You can talk to him before he goes to sleep and check that he's going to sleep in an even more empowered state than he is today. You can let him
Yeah.
know what happens at night and see how he feels about it. And then let's see what happens
Yeah.
after that.
So he says, I remind him about him in the mornings because I've got these big eyes, and I'm like, he's like, like he basically thinks I'm lying to him.
He
Like,
doesn't remember.
he doesn't
No.
remember it at all.
Have you ever videoed this?
No, I haven't.
Why not? If he doesn't believe you.
I don't know. I just think if he doesn't know about it, he doesn't think about it when he sleeps, and in the morning he gets up with a smile and a laugh. I don't know. I don't know if showing it to him will trigger something.
There is something that is happening there that could be a hijack of what's going on. And he's waking up in the morning, but not consciously. There's something happening in the subconscious mind that's waking him up. Normally, it's a predictive dream, and a predictive dream is something that may happen in the future that could be a warning for you. And this is not to scare the child, because he's a child at the end of the day. So we would like to understand his present belief systems that could be leading him to a potential future that could be scary for him. And it takes enough rapport and connecting with the child to understand what are the belief systems that are happening right now that could be leading me to a future that may be scary for me. And that belief system could be, maybe I may not be included. Maybe I am not as good as I don't even know how old he is, my older brother or sister or somebody else.
3.5.
And if he's the oldest, middle, youngest, etc.
Middle.
Okay. So there are belief systems behind it that are putting you in a future vibration. I think of belief systems, right? So let's say if you have a belief system that I'm not safe. I'm not saying this is your son, but example. If I'm not safe is a belief system, then the future that you're heading into is going to show you that you're not safe. If I'm not as good as other people is a belief system, the future you're heading into is going to mirror I'm not good enough. If I feel anything, if I feel weak, then something's going to happen that is more powerful than who I am. So I'm maintaining that I'm weak. So what we would like to do is to understand that belief system that is showcasing a potential future that is resulting in this nightmare without scaring the poor child who's only 3 years old. So this is an interesting challenge for you.
Actually, I think I'm going to FaceTime you because it's going to be your lunchtime, 1 to 3 in the afternoon. So I'll FaceTime you for a week so you can, on live, doctor, give me your live diagnosis. That's a good job.
Sure. Let's see what he says. Let's see what comes of it.
Sure.
And again, not scaring the poor child, because at the end of the day, we would like him to trust and believe that he is okay and things are okay. And yet something is happening in the subconscious mind, which is good for us to understand.
I just thought maybe it's his diet. Maybe too many cookies, too much sugar. I don't know. But it's rare because it didn't happen with the other two.
You're talking to somebody who is mind over body. So I 100% believe in diet. I do. But I believe that the mind is even more powerful than that. Because let's say if I feel that there's a void, I'm going to overeat and my diet will be impacted. But if I don't feel there's a void, I'm not going to overeat. So what's even more powerful than my urge to overeat? My mindset. So the mindset is the most powerful thing that you can be with and you can deal with. And it's more powerful than anything physical, even an accident. Like, oh, why did I hurt myself? Because I had an accident. And nobody in the world can, say that that didn't happen. Why did I hurt myself? I fell down. Of course you fell down. Why did I fall down? Because I was not present. Why was I not present? Because I was anxious. Why am I anxious? Because I'm scared about my exam or my performance review or my appraisal. Mindset. At the end of the day, it's mindset. And mindset impacts anything physical. So you're talking to someone that believes mindset is more powerful than anything, even though I can't deny that diet and anything physical, of course, has an impact.
Let's talk about parents. You talk about, I read you had mentioned conscious parenting. What is that?
It's about being aware of why you do what you do. And that's basically what consciousness is about, right? So if you're conscious, you are aware. So the unconscious parent does things without realizing why they're doing things. And again, I'm not here to judge, but let's say a parent says, oh, you must be number one. Why? Because you must. But why? What if I'm not? No, you just must. I'm not going to tell you the why. Or that, I have a superstition. And the superstition is that you must not wear a certain clothing on a certain day. You must not come under a ladder. Why? You can't explain the why, right? So if you are not conscious about why you are the way you are, then you could be influenced by belief systems and things in the past. What conscious parenting does is it helps you to understand, again, the why you do what you do and understand your child better. So, what is the role of an unconscious parent? Sometimes the unconscious parent is an orchestrator. So the orchestrator says, violin, you play now, piano, you play now, cello, you play now, and I'm going to dictate who plays what because this is the symphony. Who's decided the symphony? I have, because I know what's right and what's wrong. The conscious parent is a gardener. I don't know the symphony, and I'm not going to tell you what to do and when to do it. The gardener says that I'm here to fertilize the soil. I'm here to give the sunlight, but I don't know how tall you're going to grow. That's up to you. I don't know when you're going to produce a flower. I don't know how the flower is going to be and what size it's going to be. I'm here to discover who you are. I'm here to provide a loving environment, discover who you are, understand who you are, and we can grow together. So I'm not here to control you or to dictate you or to tell you how to be. I'm here to understand you and to give you three things: safety, nurturing, and guidance. Safety, to know that, this environment is safe. Nurturing is you are enough and you are valuable enough and your behavior doesn't dictate your self-worth. And guidance, to understand that life is not about being happy and positive. We will get the good and the bad and we'll be with everything. So that's a conscious parent.
Great.
Sabrina, thanks. I'm not a conscious parent. Now I know. Thanks, Sabrina.
Did you write those three things down? I hope so. So, okay, you have this very successful clinic, and is it still, it's the only English speaking one in Hong Kong? You are an author, you're a TEDx speaker. There's so much more. What is in store for you next? What other projects do you have going on?
I like the name, All About You.
Mm-hmm.
The clinic.
Yeah. That's actually because I personally believe that the life that you've created is all about you. It's your perceptive filters, your belief systems that has created your reality. So there's nothing to shift on the outside. There's only everything to shift on the inside and your perceptive filter. So what's there for me? Growth. I would love to write more books. I've got 2 more books in my mind that I would love to produce. Different workshops. I train people to become therapists. I would love for the therapists in my center to grow and for them to spread this awareness and this knowledge and to produce more workshops and to do a mixture of, pro bono work to impact the people that don't have access to mental health. Like recently, I've just collaborated with a refugee center in Hong Kong. So to give access to mental health to people that don't have access to it. And then at the same time to actually be profitable and to grow a successful business and to create more therapists that can go out there, make an impact, produce more programs, get other people to teach my programs. So I've got, different ways
There's a
that I want
lot.
to
There's a lot
expand.
there.
Yeah.
Yes. So mental health in Hong Kong, are people talking about it more now? In the US, I feel like we're just starting and there's so much more to discuss. How is it there in Hong Kong?
If you think in the US it's just starting, in Hong Kong, we're so many steps behind you. And
Yeah.
I actually thought that Hong Kong was infancy and maybe like US is toddler or like, almost a
Yes.
teenager because it's been around for longer. Whereas here,
I
there's
feel that too.
so much stigma attached to it. And
Yes, of course.
the stigma is like, oh, there's something wrong with you if you're looking at mental health. And that comes from the presupposition that we must not have something wrong with us, which means that we must be okay, happy, and perfect all the time, which goes against
Hmm.
nature. So that
Well,
stigma is, old
I
condition.
think it's culture. It's culture.
Both, right?
Americans are, do what you like, freedom of this, freedom of speech. I have a
But
gun.
even here, and here, no one talked about going to a therapist before.
Yeah.
And even
No?
adults, no, not at all. It was like hush hush, right? Like, I'm going to a therapist because there's something wrong with me. I don't want my friends to know that. I don't want my family to know that. And also, as an Indian person, I get the cultural part of it, but it was also an American thing. But now you see it changing, especially with the younger generation. I think our generation is teaching our kids it's normal. It's okay. You have to take care. We go to a physical doctor, we could go to a mental doctor too.
Yeah.
It should be that way. And so last week my husband and I, we developed a wellness strategy. So we go to schools and we spoke to a 5th grade class, so 11-year-olds. And I asked the kids, what do you do? If you are stressed out and overwhelmed, what do you do? And one girl said, I do my breathing exercises. So we asked her, where did you learn that? And she's like, oh, from my therapist. And no one said, "Ooh, really? You go to it?" No, it's just normal. It's becoming normalized in their generation, which I love.
I'm so happy to hear
Yeah.
that. One of my
Hmm.
missions is to normalize going to a mental health practitioner and make it as normal as going to a doctor. Like, you go to a doctor, you go to a dentist, you go to a mental health practitioner because you have a mind and you have a body. And both of them can have, different experiences. It can be healthy or unhealthy. And it's okay when it's unhealthy and you can look at it, discover what the issue is, and bring it back to a healthy state. So why not do it for both mind and body? That's just
Exactly.
the way it needs to be.
Exactly. Yep.
Sonia,
Well, I appreciate everything you do. I respect it, and I'm excited that you're growing it there and you're bringing more awareness to it.
Thank you.
Sonia, back to the free session. At what age do I give my eldest son a phone? What's your thoughts on social media affecting mental health? What age should a child have a smartphone?
Like the word should is so against my diction because the word should brings rule.
Recommend.
Aha.
Recommend.
It depends on the child. It depends on their relationship with social media and why they're doing it, how mature they are. So it's like,
Mhm.
what do you want this for? What does it mean to you? And who are you going to be about it? How often are you going to use it? The more the child is in the aware state, the more they are in charge. Otherwise, what you're going to do is you're going to create a battle with the child. So I want it. No, you can't have it. No, I want it. No, you can't have it. And the more you can't have it, the more I want it. So now what's happening? What's happening is war. No, there's no wisdom in war. There's just that I'm going to oppose you. And the more you are in this position and the more I'm going to polarize you. So if both of you come to neutral, then you would understand why it's necessary for them. And they would understand what your concerns are. And if they can understand your concerns and you can understand what's necessary for them, then you can both come to a neutral grounding and you will understand when is an appropriate time to have them be with the phone. And
She
then
explains it so well. You
No,
right,
no, no, no,
Amitu?
no. Sorry, no, I don't. That's a therapist answer. Okay, now
I
imagine
think I think that would work with my child.
that's fine. Okay, you're a mother now. Okay, Sonia, you're now the new Hong Kong. Sorry, you're now the new communist China responsible for policy. And you have to come up with an age gate restriction, just like you've come up with tobacco and alcohol, and like you've come up in China recently with gaming and gaming hours only on the weekends and at a certain age, right? In China, I don't know if you know that, Sabrina.
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
In China, gaming is not allowed Monday to Friday, and on the weekends above, I don't know if it's 16 or 14, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 hours a day. And because everything's a streaming, they can actually track, like, in China, they track everything.
Yeah.
And literally they can fine you and the platform for exceeding that. So back to the question, age gating, at what age should you be allowed?
Pushed you into a corner with this one.
I want an answer because that's a fair answer. That's the normal answer. But now I want the strict Chinese government policy. We know social media has affected depression, especially with young women, especially Instagram, especially in the UK, where teenage suicide is at an all-time high.
Yes.
So the question is, at what age would you recommend society not be given a mobile phone?
Okay, so I'm going to answer you since you have put me in that thing. And
Put a gun.
At the time, I'm going to say that this needs to be reviewed because the consciousness of children change. So when I was 16 or 17, I was as wise as somebody is when they're 13, 14 today. So wisdom changes. So at this present consciousness age, I would say 12. Okay, after 12, let's say someone can discern to give their child a phone or not. And when I was young, I would make it 15 because consciousness was different. And let's say after 3 years, it could be 9 for all you know. So even though I'm actually giving an age because I've been asked to give an age, so I would say that anything that is rigid is dysfunctional. Because if you make a rule and you say this rule is going to last forever, you're not taking into account that things shift and things change. So for the next 2 to 3 years, let's make it 12. And let's look at the 12-year-old and look at how mature the 12-year-old is. And between the 12-year-old and the parents and the wisdom that they both have, how mature are they to be able to handle the phone whilst keeping their self-esteem and self-value intact? And then it's a decision for both parties to be made, not under 12. And review this policy that I'm hypothetically setting once a year.
I approve that answer, and we can move on.
Good answer.
Sabrina,
good answer.
Sabrina, that argument should be used in America's constitution for why gun laws should be changed.
Oh, I 100% agree with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not going to fight you on that one.
Sonia, we ask all our guests, the only question we ask all our guests, the same question is, what is their definition of success, and whether that definition has evolved over the decades that they've lived.
Oh my God, so much evolution. So back in my 20s or my teens, success was about how much do I have? Like how many friends do I have? How much power do I have? How much money do I have? And it's about the more, and the more. That was previously. And the evolution of today is that I would attribute success to a few keywords: acceptance, alignment, and peace. So am I able to accept the highs and lows in my life right now? Because I know there will be both. And I know that life is not about the upside and the downsides, but about both. So am I able to accept the challenges and the support that I have? Do I feel aligned and in integrity? So am I pretending that things are okay, or am I in integrity with my values? And am I able to then be at peace? And I can be at peace if I feel aligned and I feel in acceptance and I feel in integrity with who I am, which is very different from wanting more and more and more.
Beautifully said.
Beautifully said. And Sabrina, this is our 5th episode, and it's the first time somebody has used the word power. So,
yeah, that's true.
It's
how that's evolved.
It's a Hong Kong thing, I must say. It's a Hong Kong thing. Power. It's a Hong Kong Sindhi thing.
You coach so many people. Do you have someone that coaches you?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, one of the things that I believe in and that I empower my students and everybody else with is I'm not going to ever stop learning or growing or evolving or have a therapist myself. Because if I'm a therapist for people, then what about me? So I do get sessions. I have therapists that I work with. I learn courses. I'm continuously evolving, and I don't ever think that I know everything or I know enough. I'm on the journey. And I believe that I will have a therapist for as long as I'm cognitively able to receive information. I
Yes.
will have a
Yes.
therapist, and I definitely do at this moment.
I
Oh,
was I
great.
was going to say I'm available as well if you
Oh,
want to
Oh
have a
gosh.
thanks,
conversation.
Amit.
Yeah.
I will
If you're looking to
join.
regress.
Okay. Uh, Sonia, we'll get into the rapid fire round here where we ask you stupid questions and, we expect smart answers in return. Sabrina, do you want to start?
Yes, this was not a rapid fire question, but it is turned into one. Who inspires you?
Deepak Chopra at this moment.
What worries you today? Like what keeps you up at night?
Um, that is looking at whether I'm worried today. What could keep me up at night is being in a space where I'm not aligned and wanting to be more integrous and being more aligned. But I don't feel like anything else would really keep me up.
Say the whole China, Hong Kong situation.
It is what it is. It'll
Nothing.
happen,
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, wars have happened throughout history, and who's to say it shouldn't happen? I don't believe in shoulds or shouldn'ts. And I actually believe that, the world has equanimity. There will be dark and there will be light. And there is no one to believe that world should be only light or only dark. We will continue to have both. So let it happen. Sorry,
Wars,
that's just me.
wars,
And there's nothing you
wars
could do
are
about it,
happening.
right? You're not in control of it.
You
Wars
know,
are happening right now.
yeah.
Right, but you can't control it,
Yes, you
Sure.
can
right?
control it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could have dinner with any celebrity alive or who has passed. Who would it be?
Other than Deepak Chopra.
Ooh, you took away my date.
I don't know what he would think about it, but
So any celebrity, probably, maybe, you may not even know these names, but maybe
Okay.
a master Muji, or maybe Sri Sri Ravi Shankar or Satguru, or one of the people that I believe are living and breathing non-duality.
Okay.
okay.
Very
I
cool.
know the second and the third. The first one is the
Yes.
Muji, the Japanese guy.
He's Tibetan. He's a Tibetan master.
Tibetan. Okay. Sadhguru's okay. We had his brain thing.
I don't know if he's okay or not, but I believe that he's alive, and if he's alive, I think he's well.
Yeah. No, he had recently
Yes,
brain hemorrhage.
I know.
Okay. A purchase of under 200 US dollars that has made a big difference in your life in the last year or two that you can remember, that you recommend others.
For me, it would be a workshop. It would be a workshop or a subscription to maybe YouTube or Gyan knowledge that I could be in touch with that has made a difference to my life. Because for me, every morning I plug into knowledge as part of my daily ritual. And I feel like if you tap into the consciousness of what you believe in, if you are listening to things that are talking to you about surpassing the darkness and the lightness, or talking to you about processing emotions and moving into a state of peace, then nothing can be more valuable than that. So I believe in knowledge. For me, the most valuable thing is knowledge and moving forward. So anything that is under that price, that is about knowledge and that is about conscious knowledge, that would be what I would say.
Imagine you have a billboard in New York's Times Square. You can write one key message, which is your legacy. What would it say?
So something that I often talk about is acceptance. So acceptance is the key to life mastery, something like that. Because acceptance is not judging. It's not calling something good or bad or right or wrong. It is being with what is, accepting what is, and then moving forward with peace.
Okay. Very nice.
Are you a TV buff? Are you like binge watching anything on Netflix right now? What are you watching? What do you kill time? Like you seem to be like a perfect alignment. Like your followers are gurujis, and you seem to be like a I don't do anything wrong kind of girl. So I'm trying to get the opposite side of you. What are the vices? Are you like an alcoholic, a gambler? Do you go to Macau secretly every weekend?
I
Like,
like
give me
wine.
something bad about you.
I drink. I like wine. I love a nice glass of wine somewhere. Although I binge watch gurus, I'm on Netflix. I've watched Bridgerton a lot recently. I like watching all of these things. I love going out for a night of dancing and a good night out with my friends. I love, playing. Yeah, as I said, like I
Playing.
do
What
enjoy
is playing? Playing
play.
what? Board games or
Yeah, also board games. I do games night out with my friends every now and then. I do games night out. I like playing games. I like being playful. I like dancing. I do drink. I'm not a guru in that sense. And yeah, I generally like being lighthearted and having playful conversations. In fact, sometimes I say to my mother, and my mom is really into this knowledge as well. She's amazing. She actually attends a lot of my workshops. And sometimes when I meet her for dinner, she's like, "Oh, let's talk about the mind and the purpose of life." And I'm like, "Mom, let's talk nonsense." Because I have spoken so much sense all day. Let's just talk nonsense tonight. So
Yes.
I can do that too.
I love it.
Sabrina? She's
Do you
normal. She's
do,
normal.
do you do are all your clients patients in Hong Kong, or do you meet people virtually too?
Oh, so
Asking for a friend.
so
Asking
many
for a
are
friend.
not in Hong Kong. In fact, today every client I had was online and not in Hong Kong. So I do
Really?
a
And so you
lot
could
of
do hypnotherapy virtually?
I do. I do. So much of it is virtual.
I'll be
So
calling you.
every time zone. I Today I had Dubai, UK, America, and Kuala Lumpur. That's just today. And again, it's
Wow.
Since you mentioned
Fantastic.
that, just like, can we plug in whether it's your website or Instagram account or something that people can reach out if they want to contact you?
sure. My name is the easiest, soniasamtani.com. My Instagram is Sonia Samtani _ to follow. And hopefully, the things that I have to share there may add a little bit of value or, ignite something for you.
I have another question because I'm now that I know she's normal and not just a guruji, I want to ask more questions. If you could travel back in time, what era would you like to belong or have witnessed?
Okay, another normal thing about me is I'm not good at history. Okay, so I'm so I'm not good at everything. So which era? I'm not quite sure. I think I would take you back to the golden ages of Satyog, before all of this existed, which is in the Indian
Mm.
philosophy of before duality existed, where everything was sattvic and we didn't even know what the duality was. So maybe I'd like to take you there, but that might be too Guruji for you. So then I would come back to the here and now. I'm okay in the here and now. And I don't necessarily need to go back to the there and then.
I think you would adjust and be comfortable wherever we put you
I
anywhere in history.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Um, I didn't know what to expect today, Sonia. Really, I know we have a mutual friend, and I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm intrigued, and I think I'm going to follow you. Not stalk you, but I'm going to follow you. I'm going to learn more about you, and when I'm next in Hong Kong, I'm going to reach out to hopefully meet in person, if that's okay.
That'd be amazing. Lovely to meet you.
Yeah.
And we can go out and do normal things and, drink and go for dinner into normal places. It's
Oh,
nice to
oh, I come across as normal, Sonia, but I'm not really normal.
Not only am I fascinated by your knowledge, but I love the way you present it. It's no surprise you are a well sought after keynote speaker. You're phenomenal. And I too want to learn more. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing about yourself and all your knowledge today. We really appreciate it. It's been fantastic.
Thanks so much, Sabrina. It's been such a pleasure being here and with both of you. And I hope to see both of you in person someday.
I know that would be fantastic. Thank you, everyone. This has been another episode of Indian Explorers. We hope you learned a lot just like we did. Have a great day, everyone.